Yes. Good morning. That's a good start. Good afternoon. Good evening. Welcome to the recording of the On the Ball podcast. Sorry we went about last week, but it's probably a good thing on everyone's part, really. And I'm now, fighting fit. And who have we got tonight? I hear you say. I obviously will share this on Facebook, as you know. I will do that, and I can show you who we have tonight. It is these fine fellows. We have Steve Sanders, Zoe Morgan, and Stephen Wright. He will be Stephen for tonight. Has been known as Steve in the past, but that would be confusing, we decided. Who booked two Stephens on at the same time anyway? So there we go. They're all there. That's exciting. Get your comments and questions in, please. And we'll keep an eye on those. Steve will do that. Don't be mean to anyone. Be better than that. Okay. So that's good. Other than footballers, obviously, being as mean as you like to the footballers. I'm joking. Everyone's human. We're all humans here. We can't help it if games are instantly forgetful. So yeah, we'll be talking about that. I suppose we should address the Hull and Bristol City games because we haven't been on since. So we shall do that. But yeah, get any entertaining comments or questions in. We'll deal with them all. We'll field them all in the manner and spirit that they are posted. Just remember that. So that's all grand. I'm probably a bit high. I've been a bit high on life. I should complete that sentence. Spending 4 hours on the train on your own is never conducive to sensible debate. But there we go. What's the worst that can happen? Well, lots of things, but let's not worry about that. I reckon we crack on with this week's pod. Hope you're all well. Get the comments and questions in. If not, we'll just crack on with our own conversations, which will be joyous, of course. That's enough of me rabbiting on. StreamYard keeps changing things, I notice. So now I can look. I didn't know I could do that. Show a headline. Oh no, don't know. Right. Stop playing whilst you're live. Stop playing whilst you're live broadcasting. That's the rule there. Instead, let's crack on with tonight's podcast. I hope you all enjoy it vociferously. It's not the right word. Oh, hey, hello all and welcome to edition 126 of On the Ball, the goalless draw at Wigan of Norwich City podcasts. I am Michael Bailey. I cover the Canaries for The Athletic and I hope this finds you safe and well because on the way we have 90 minutes of our lives we'll never get back. I'm not talking about this podcast. Just make that clear. I'm talking about the weekend. 88-point train leaves the station and our biggest hopes for a Carrow Road double header. We will work through all that and more with our guests this week, who are Norwich numberwang chief at NCFC Numbers, also known as our very own Steve Sanders.
Evening, Michael.
We have author of The Official History of Norwich City and purveyor of fine jumpers. It is Zoe Morgan.
Good evening, Michael.
And also someone with a fine jumper that we'll expand on that for the audio listeners. Don't worry. We have another on the ball debutant and another former member of the Norwich City media team. Are there any of them left? Who knows? Who now works for Tottenham Women? It is Stephen Wright.
Thank you for having me on, Michael. Always a proud moment to make your debut, of course, and pull on the jersey.
It's a strong start. It's a strong start from Stephen there. And he has literally pulled on the jersey, which we are going to talk about momentarily. We should just say apologies. We were not on last week. Completely my fault for being ill. Sorry about that. I am now no longer ill. So that's...
And also mine for just not being bothered to do it. Like you asked, I was like, what happened? Bristol City? No. So, yeah.
Bit too honest there, Steve. But yeah.
I turned up this week at least.
We we turned down the opportunity to talk about a 1-0 defeat at Bristol City, so we could talk about a 0-0 draw at Wigan. What's better than that? How are you, Steve? Are you well?
I'm very well. I'm very excited to see if we can finally get it under an hour. I know, I feel like this is the ultimate test of that. If we don't do it this week, we will never do it. And thanks everyone for joining us. I kind of feel podcast dreadful games. Hopefully we can.
I didn't catch all of that because the connection was a bit slow, but it was probably bodes incredibly well for the rest of this podcast. It was like watching Norwich for 90 minutes in the space what did you say, Steve? Just say it again. Maybe the audio recording will be fine.
Ironically, I was saying that I think this often the best podcasts. Am I still audible? Often the best podcasts are the ones after the worst games. However, I think I might already be disproving that theory.
Well, yes, maybe not. Who knows? I'm excited, but then maybe I'm just easily pleased. Zoe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Michael. Currently benefiting from paying full attention to about 50% of Norwich's games at the moment, which is about the same as the players. So I like to mirror that slightly.
No, don't be negative. We'll criticize for our... It's fair to say, Steve and Zoe, you haven't watched all of the game on Saturday. Is that fair to say?
Did purchase the Radio Norfolk commentary because I am, of course, outside of Norfolk, so we don't get access to it unless we pay £2.50. So I did listen to most of the game on the radio.
Wow! Yeah, you spent £2.50 on listening to the game. Good, that's good. Steve, sorry.
I did the same. My usual methods of watching away games are not proving as reliable as they often do.
All those official streams, they can be, if they're not available, they're not available. You can't do much about that. That's just the way it is. Stephen, welcome to the podcast. You are in a resplendent yellow jumper with green stripe.
I certainly am. It's got 1902 on there as well.
That's a very famous year.
I think that this was a gift from someone in the marketing team a few years ago, Ian Webster, who is affectionately known as Fletch in the club. Can't really remember why, but thank you, Ian, for this all these years later.
Well done, Fletch, or Web. I want to call him Web. Oh no, let's just stop. Well, it was given to you for this very moment.
Exactly, foresight. You knew 3 years ago that this was going to happen.
Everyone inside Carrow Road must know if you're in the media team at some point, you're going to end up on this podcast, possibly as a regular. So that's exciting. Did you catch much of Liam's performance 2 weeks ago?
I did. I watched it. Yeah.
Are you happy with it? Are you looking forward to following in his footsteps?
Tough act to follow. Yeah, I did get the chance to go to the Bristol City game, but as for the Wigan one, it's just been a case of watching the highlights on YouTube for me.
That must have taken a long time. You went to the Bristol City game, didn't you? Have fun? Did you have fun at the Bristol? Bearing in mind, I think you were among the crew who would have said you had a great trip that was, had a bit of a blip in the middle, which was the match.
Yeah, I had fun until the game. I think the best thing about Bristol City away was actually stopping at Gloucester services. And I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever had the
unparalleled service.
Is it? I don't know.
What makes it so
it's
great?
like some kind of Lord of the Rings when you first pull up and you see that it's sort of shaped into the landscape of the hills above. Not that I've seen Lord of the Rings. The pie that I had there was very nice.
Yeah, lots of artisanal pastries, breads, farm shop, a duck pond.
Wow! So how close is this to Bristol? Is it?
It was on the way from where I was travelling from. It was about halfway between Oxford and Bristol.
Okay.
Wow. But even if it's not on the way, you should go anyway.
I don't think I'm going to get the chance to see. Oh. Well, at some point I will go there. I don't know how or why or when. But when I do, I will take a picture. Stephen, as I have to keep remembering to call you tonight, thank you for joining us. It's going to be one hell of a pod, I'm sure. I am. For those not watching live, I'm wearing another Fresh Shirts UK donation for tonight. It's got yellow in it again. That's good. What was the one I wore last time? Oh, it's the Dortmund shirt, wasn't it? That's right. Which didn't really have yellow in it at all. But never mind. This is a shirt. Now, either I'm going to look incredibly stupid or really, really knowledgeable. That is a shirt of the club Racing Club de Lens. Because I'm sure it's Lens, but maybe it's not. I mean, it should be long, obviously long. If I was speaking en français,
Which you would
I-
be
I-
if you were in on long, I guess.
is it
on.
Lens? I thought it was Lens. I did not in an idiot way, and thought that's genuinely how it's pronounced. So if anyone's watching live and can either shoot me down in flames, as so often happens, or back me up, either way. But it's a nice fitting shirt, but I mean, it's not. You know, it's a bit.
And it says shoppy on the, it says shoppy on the front.
Yeah.
It's got a touch of rugby league about it, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Well, of course, it's pronounced shoppy in French. So, right. Enough of all this because it's not good for the audio listeners. Although I'll take a picture. I'll take a picture mid-podcast. That's exciting, and then that will obviously double up, and you'll be able to see that on the socials, my socials. Anyway, for those watching us live on your chosen social media platform, we do also want to hear from you during the course of the podcast. It can be on absolutely anything. Get your comments and questions in. And if you want to contribute, but you're not watching live, you can still do that. Email us. The address is twitterkers@icloud.com, which just reminds me there's an email I need to find during the course of this podcast so we can read out, which I will do, obviously, in a bit. Let's crack on, though, in the meantime, with this week's Headline Act. Yes, the irony of trying to make this podcast quite short, stroke normal time, but also having 3 games really to catch up on, which we don't have to go into great detail about, obviously. But essentially, Norwich lost at Bristol City 1-0. They then beat Hull. Hurrah! 3-1. Was it? And then they drew in a goalless draw at Wigan 0-0. What could be more championship than that, Steve? 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. All fun.
Yeah. And what could be more championship mid-table than that, which I suppose is currently where we're sitting. Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? Let's crack on. We've got to get this under an hour. Really, I'm gunning for that. Yeah, mixed bag. And I don't know. I was trying to sort of reconcile with myself whether I feel positive or more positive or less positive. I mean, I think the real plus to take out of it is that we put in a genuinely good performance and a win in a home game, which, let's be honest, I think we all needed to see that. I think Carrow Road needed to see it. It had been 4 months. And it seems like we're either really good or we're really not very good. And the game on Saturday kind of, it felt very Daniel Farke's first season, if I'm honest, in that we didn't seem to have that much cutting edge. We looked like we're still building something, but we don't really look like a top 6 team. Now that could be completely disproven, but I think we're gonna have to up it, which sounds odd because 10 points from the first 6 games under David Wagner is really not that bad, and on that trajectory we will get 69 points if we kind of follow on from that, which
that is not the 88-point train, Steve.
Oh no, yeah. Sorry,
that's so short of that train.
Yeah, I've left 19 points. I've dropped 19 points off at a station there somewhere, haven't I?
Is what a mess the train is in.
And 4 of those games have been away. So 4 out of the first 6 have been away. We've taken 10 points. That you would sort of take, but it does feel like we've lost. The train has lost a bit of momentum. We need to throw a bit more coal in the engine. Did you put coal in the engine?
Yes, they do. Yes, if we're talking about Thomas the Tank Engine, which it does feel like we're sort of chasing at the moment. You know, Percy. Anyway, yeah.
Was there a David in Thomas the Tank Engine? Don't think that was there. And on that, no,
I could start listing. I could start listing Thomas the Tank Engine characters. That could be a new podcast regime for when the football, derails completely. Maybe.
It could be a summer project.
There must have been a David the Diesel or something like that, surely.
Well, the Diesel was just called Diesel, I think. He was just called Diesel.
Well, we can call David Wagner David the Diesel for the purposes of this analogy.
Yeah, why not?
Anyway, I have fittingly run out of steam, but I don't know what point I was trying to make there.
Well, all I'm doing now is thinking about Thomas the Tank Engine characters. So, Zoe, what can you do to distract me from that? I did, literally in the middle of that, I was trying to remember Hull's goal because I was like, what? I couldn't even remember when they scored or how they scored. So I've remembered now. It was a
Bit
goal.
of an accident, wasn't
Start,
it?
Yeah. Well, funny that. Yeah, there were a lot of accidents against Wigan. I mean, Norwich were quite well. I mean, I don't know. They tried very hard not to draw the game 0-0. I suppose that's a credit to them.
It's weird, isn't it? The way we keep making mistakes. Like it's really weird, and it's not just one player. It's sort of all of them, and it keeps going. And I kind of can excuse it, sort of, as you're getting into a season or you're getting used to new teammates and all of this. But they've been playing with each other most of the season. Like now we're getting towards the end and they're still doing it multiple times a game, and it's very odd because you don't see other teams doing it all the time. The odd one, but not like we do. And we're supposed to be, I know we're not, but we're supposed to be one of the most experienced, high quality squads in this league. And I don't know what it is. Is it a lack of concentration? Is it I don't know. I think with some of them sometimes it is, but yeah, I don't know what that is. But I did enjoy very much my Valentine's Day for the whole game.
Oh,
What better way to spend Valentine's Day than with the loves of your life, which is nice. See them,
There was a couple in front of the press box at Carrow Road. It's all flooding back to me now. It's lovely. And the guy brought his partner, presumably, I don't know, they were both there together, and she had a rose. So presumably that was organised and perfectly fine. So
Yeah.
could be I'm a journalist. I should have accosted them both and held them both to account as to why they were there. But it looked like a lovely scene.
Yeah, it's probably not in the spirit of Valentine's Day, accosting a couple, one of whom has brought a rose with them. But
it depends. You're in a public place. It's up to you to then deal with the consequences of that. Said like a true
spoken like a true journalist.
I mean,
romance.
Exactly. I mean, the point is, I got a little bit of stick for suggesting that maybe there were a few more empty seats than I was expecting when I looked up on the 81st minute, which wasn't like any great statement. It was just like, look, I've noticed this. Here's a picture of it, and then all of a sudden, some people thought I was, having a go at everyone, which I wasn't. But I mean, is it fair to say that maybe not everyone goes to Carrow Road on Valentine's night? Is that a thing?
It's definitely fair to say, because it's factually true, isn't it? It can only fit 27,000 in for a start. So,
Steve, I'm just that's the answer. So I'm not going to say anything.
Also, Valentine's night makes no odds to me whatsoever. So, as I'm sure it's probably the case for a lot of our fans.
I did go through. I've got the football app that tells you all the games you've been to if you're sad enough to update it. So I did have a little look at all the games I'd been to on Valentine's night. I mean, it's quite a few. There's, or Valentine's Day, because obviously sometimes it's a Saturday. Which this is so dull. I'm sorry, but not as dull as Saturday.
I did go on. Sorry to interrupt. But
no, please do, Steve. Please end this now.
Very important piece of information. I did go on a date at Carrow Road to see Jimmy Carr when he came to Carrow Road, but I've not been to a full match there on a date. How was
it as a dating experience?
It was all right. He was quite funny, if you like that sort of thing.
Thank goodness. Was it not your choice?
No, it was my choice.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's because I was hoping you'd been expecting him to be quite funny.
Yes, that is the idea.
On something that's not very funny, Stephen, to get that right. Teemu Pukki obviously was rested for Hull because in the minds of some, he was obviously the problem. Norwich's best quality player was definitely the problem. So that was why he then got rested. He then got rested, obviously, and then injured himself during the rest, thus ruling him out now for the forthcoming game. And I mean, he might be back for Saturday, but it seems unlikely. And so we're all on, and now Josh Sargent's injured as well, which is a shame. Norwich do only have Adam Eder. Stephen, is this an issue?
Well, for me personally, I don't think there's much wrong with Adam Eder. I think he's a really good forward, and for quite a long time I've kind of wanted him to properly get his chance. Obviously, he's had a lot of injury issues, hasn't he? So he's not really been afforded that. But I like the look of him. I think last season, obviously under Dean Smith in the Premier League, a lot of fans say that there weren't any real positive moments, but there was that win against Everton when I remember Brandon Williams sort of set up Adam Eder. He scored a really clinical sort of striker's goal, and I just think I want to see more of that from him, really. So I'm not too worried about him featuring, but I know a lot of people have been kind of talking about Abu Kamara recently as well, and could he be involved in the squad? Whether he would get 10 minutes at the end of the next game, I don't know, but I wouldn't be against seeing it if that were the case.
Yeah, I missed the press conference today, but I've caught up on most of it. I don't think Abu Kamara came up in it, but it did strike me against Wigan that there weren't many striker options on the bench, Steve. And I suppose that's more the point. Some people have sort of been a little bit critical of what Adam offered on Saturday, which isn't fair because he had literally nothing really to work with, I thought. But probably the bigger issue is just the depth of then striker options, because let's be honest, David Wagner hasn't really got any at the moment. It's literally one player and hope for the best, surely.
Yeah. Well, I see. It's happened. It's happened already.
It happened.
We just have to both talk at the same time.
Steve, you go first.
Me, Steve.
Yes, you're Steve.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I still think my Wi-Fi is dodgy, so it could go down any second. In which case, Stephen is ideally placed to take over. I was going to completely agree with his point. Actually, I'm very much of the mind that it's good that Eder's getting an opportunity. He's had to really wait for it. I was looking at the games he's played, and he played five in a row, I think, sort of towards the end of last season, and then he didn't actually start another game for I think it was 11 months in the end. So and his next start was the game under Alan Russell against Reading. So he's not really had the opportunity, but the main problem, as you say, Michael, is the lack of options around him. So it's slightly unfortunate for him that he's come in at this time, because he might be being judged slightly unfairly. We finished the game with him, and then the three behind him against Wigan were Jolis, Nunez, and Gibbs. Now, it was one of those where you just couldn't imagine that attacking unit somehow functioning together to score a goal. I was looking at who we started the season with, and we had on our books Pukki, Sargent, Eder, Hugill, Rashica, Cantwell, Dowell, Hernandez, Sinani, Ramsey, and Rowe. Now, Rowe's obviously been injured most of the season. A couple of those got loaned out. But by my reckoning, Eder, Cantwell, and Dowell of those 11... Sorry, Eder, Dowell, and Hernandez of those 11 players are the only ones who are going to be available to us on Tuesday. It just seems like... I'm not saying we've done the wrong thing by shipping some of them out. And obviously injuries do happen. But I don't really understand how we've got to a point where we've had all those attacking options and we're now down to basically the bare bones.
That would be Aaron Ramsey, who's currently playing for Middlesbrough, who are chasing down second spot at a rate of knots. And Norwich decided to send back. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Just checking. We've got Angus back in goal as well, Zoe. That's all happened since we were last on the pod. Is that a good thing? I feel like the debate between... I mean, I'm saying this as someone who will probably write a piece on the debate between them both, because I've already done that 5 times. Is there really a debate? Are they just like quite similar? And, it's like you're in goal until you make enough mistakes that the other guy gets another go.
Yeah, it's a funny situation, isn't it? Not having a very clear number one. I think I spoke about this last time I was on, but I defended Wagner's choice to pick Krul in the first place. Like I didn't see how that was a massive deal, but I also like now Gunn's back in. I think it's like, again, it's not a massive deal. I don't think that we are not faultless without either one of them. They both make mistakes. They've both got areas in which they can improve. I think Angus gets away with it a little bit more because he's not quite so outwardly eccentric, I would say. Which Krul has these moments where you can tell his mind is going 5,000 miles an hour, and I don't think that really helps him put calm in the minds of the crowd. And that game, I can't even remember. Oh, the Burnley game. Yes, of course. The Burnley game, when the crowd sort of spent most of the first half sort of sarcastically groaning or doing sharp intakes of breath every time Krul or one of the defenders got the ball. I'm not sure that helps anyone necessarily. But I don't think that is the type of thing that would happen with Gunn in goal, because I don't think people react in the same way to him. So even though he is not devoid of mistakes himself, I feel like there's a little bit less anxiety in the crowd sometimes when he's playing.
The other thing that gets me now is that, I don't know, please argue with me on this, but Stephen, you can answer this first if you wish. It suddenly feels like the whole thing needs loads of transition. Like the whole squad needs shaking up. You're looking at it and just thinking, oh, okay, David Wagner, that's great. But, these players, it needs so much work. I don't really understand how it all sort of got to this point, really, because this was supposed to be a team that would just bounce back. The squad is supposed to be better than it was. It shouldn't be like, oh no, we now need to rip it up entirely and just start again. I don't know how. Well, I do. I could probably write a good piece on it, but it does seem to have just landed like that now.
Yeah, some of these players have been here for quite a long time now. Obviously, Max Aarons is closing in on his 200th game, I think, possibly tomorrow.
Good knowledge.
I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. And I think that on the goalkeeper...
You're blaming Max Aarons. Yep, that's that what you're saying? Yeah.
Write an article on that.
You should say that, because on the Athletics... No, I'm only joking.
No, nothing against him. On the goalkeeper situation, I think we're fortunate to have both of them, and I think that there will come a time in the season in important games when you kind of need the personality that Krul has as well. Whether it's called housery when we concede a penalty and he needs to get in the striker's head somehow.
Shousery.
That's the one, yeah.
Shousery.
I think it's good to have them both. I think most teams in the Championship would be happy to have either one of the keepers, let alone both of them. But yeah, no, the point, like you said, Michael, that there are quite a few players that have been there for a good number of years now. So it'll be interesting to see in the summer kind of how many ins and outs there are, I think.
It's interesting. I hosted the TIFO podcast earlier today, and we spoke a bit about Emi Martinez, who is obviously probably the best at shousery. And also it was one of the, ignoring Norwich for a minute because that was terribly dull, watching Jorginho's shot go in off his head remains one of the funniest moments of the weekend. I really like Emi Martinez, but it was just very funny. And we, I sat in the Wigan press box and got to see Emi Buendia's dummy, which is, it's the best football I saw all weekend. So there we go. That's grand. Okay, well, yeah, we build the squad, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Even while we're discussing, I can't work out whether that's something we should do or not. I just think, like, on paper, you look at you think Gunn in goal, Max Aarons, Grant Hanley, Omobama Dele, and Giannoulis. That should work as a back five, shouldn't it? It should work. Like I agree with Zoe. I can't really work out why they keep just passing the ball to the opposition, because we know that that's not the way they've always played. But that should work. Then Sargent, that you feel, if he wants to stick around, would be a good focal point next season. Kenny has just signed a new deal, so he's in for the foreseeable. And I actually think Sarah is turning into a player who could be a force for us next season. But it definitely does feel like it needs freshening up, in the same way that when the Alec Neil, I want to say dynasty, but that feels like too grand a term for it. That team that went down
dynasty
and came ninth. They basically, Webber came in and kind of tore it up and got rid of a load of the play. You think Johnny Howson at that time, you wouldn't have wanted to lose Howson, but Webber was quite happy to let him go, I think, in the end. And I think a few other players went at that time as well, maybe John Ruddy, Ryan Bennett. So maybe it is time to cut loose one or two of the players who we think, well, they're really good Championship players, but maybe we just need to try a new approach. that's going to be a big decision, I think, to make in the summer, because we've said it before, we've only signed 5 players this season. 3 of them have been on loan. Marquinhos we haven't even seen yet, and Ramsey's gone back. So this is a squad of players who have been together now for quite a long time. And while on paper they are definitely a top 6 squad, you do wonder whether it's just a case of, after a lot of them have had 2 promotions, are they kind of motivated in the same way? It's a hypothetical, we'll never know the answer to, I guess.
I also think that it's not just they've already done the 2 promotions, but are we really underestimating what 2 relegations does to people, and that heartbreak and that sort of misery of what is a horrible experience, losing every week in the Premier League and doing that basically twice in 3 years. A lot of them have done that, and the fans have had to go through that as well, right? So plus we didn't get the good bit in the middle of that as well. And I think collectively, it does feel like we are all sort of like taking that moment to maybe recover from everything that's gone before. Like, these are players that have experienced losing a lot, and we are, as a crowd at home especially, have experienced losing a lot. And I think that the whole game, I don't know, it felt to me like sort of watching on the pitch when we were coming back into the game, and we were obviously playing well, but the players looked like a group of people that were just trying to work out what they could do all together, and they were trying things, and some things were coming off, and at the same time the crowd was working that out as well, and trying to, it felt very much for the first time in quite a long time that the crowd was really willing that group on with what they were trying to do, and sort of, I guess, relearning that, like, where we are and that support and perhaps how things have changed. And it did very much feel like we were in flux, and that things are just really we're trying to change, and we're trying to, I guess, heal ourselves, which is a ridiculous thing to say, but like, and it will take some time. And I maybe it's for the best that it's not just going to happen again to all the same players. But it might do, because we're going to get 88 points. So
get on the train.
Choo-choo. Also, massive hindsight point here, but I do still look back at that summer after we went up the second time, and we obviously lost Buendia, we lost Skip, but also, you've already mentioned Teti, Michael, plus Vrancic, plus Stiepermann. That's like an entire midfield gone right there. And players, I know obviously we do need to, we're talking about refreshing, so if those players weren't still here, but we haven't adequately ever really replaced, the recruitment of our midfielders has been pretty abysmal really in the last couple of seasons. Sarah and Nunez, we still hold out hope for them to improve, but I think in terms of quality within the team, and also kind of the characters, talk about the shousery. We don't have a player like that, really, do we? Like in the way that Teti kind of would engage in some of that. So it does feel like another big summer of recruitment for us, and track record lately has not been great. So let's hope they get it right this time when we're in the Premier League.
Obviously. It goes without saying on the old 88-point train, which is still enough for second, probably. Well, there we go. That's, I think, summed up those 3 games. I can't think of anything else we need to say about any of them other than other stuff. Maybe things we are not going to talk about, such as, Max on 200 appearances, which may well happen tomorrow night against Birmingham, but Stephen has already mentioned that, so that's good.
Apologies.
No, it's good. It's good, because we're not now going to talk about it because it's already been brought up. Although then I brought it up again. I've just written Christos Jolis and Marquinhos, I guess, because they're the 2 new people essentially since January. I'm guessing Christos is still working his way back to full fitness, so let's maybe bring that one back in a few weeks' time. And Marquinhos we're yet to see, but it does sound promising that he'll be involved in some way against Birmingham. He picked up an injury since he's been at Norwich. He didn't come across injured, because I know people like that narrative. What he did arrive as, though, is someone who had barely played any football. So I think
it'll fit right in.
Should have probably come with a warning for everyone that it wasn't going to be an immediate hit the ground running kind of an arrival. I've written down here Hugill ? I don't know what that is. Not a clue.
Well, you
What
don't know what
does Hugo
you don't know what
is?
Hugo is.
He'd already left, didn't he? I
Search
think
me.
last pod. So there we go. It was a bit unlucky to have his first Rotherham goal chalked off at the weekend for a non-existent push by someone else. So there you go. That's a bit of, we're not going to talk about that, obviously. And we're not going to talk about the fact that all of a sudden Ipswich fans seem to be seeing all my Facebook posts. So I keep getting messages saying, what am I doing seeing this? I don't know. Speak to Facebook. I don't care and I don't know. There we go. Anyone else? Anything? Anyone doesn't want to talk about? Anyone? Floor is yours.
There's something
Yes,
that
Stephen.
there's something that I do want to talk about, if I'm allowed to do that here.
Well, yes, because the premise of this whole section is that we're not going to talk about it, but we're going to do it really quickly. So if you talk about it quickly by not talking about it, then that's fine.
I'm strangely encouraged by the fact that Dimi Yanulis's volleys from long range are getting lower and now approaching the crossbar.
Yes.
Give it a few more weeks, and one of them is going to go in.
Getting his eye in.
Exactly.
But let's say on target.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That would be a start, obviously. Good one. I like that.
Would this whole season be worth it if Yanulis just slammed a volley in from 35 yards, Johnny Howson style from a corner?
No. No. But I'd take the highlight, obviously. It's the sort of thing when you're bumbling around in mid-table, isn't it, in the Championship, that you get to end the season and go, that was a great moment. That one volley. Great.
We haven't had that moment yet, so I feel like it's going to happen in the last 14 games.
Is it 2 years since we had a moment? When was the last moment?
Sargent's scorpion kick. That was a moment, wasn't it?
That was a moment. Yeah.
At Watford. Yeah.
That was a. Oh, yeah. Josh did that. That was good.
No, that was
the only good thing that happened in 12 months. Anyway, I'm sorry. Carry on. Anything else that anyone doesn't want to talk about? Go on, Zoe.
Well, two things. I suppose we're not going to talk about a certain former manager beating Bayern Munich at the weekend, which was lovely, really.
I had to mention that in my piece at the weekend because I couldn't, it's just like...
Did a nice post-match interview about cake as well, which was very wholesome.
It feels to me a bit like, I mean, I imagine how it would feel if you went through a divorce and you were kind of like, shacked up back in your parents' spare room and like flicking through social media, and you saw your partner like on holiday in Antigua with their new beau and the kids. That's to me what it feels like at this point.
A specific example there, Steve. Yes, on Valentine's night.
That's
Valentine's night. And also, just I don't know if he's been held accountable yet, so I just wanted to point out NCFC numbers predicting the end of Timu Puki's Norwich career, and if he's feeling bad about that.
Would this have happened if you hadn't said it, Steve? That's the question.
The problem is I've already done a pivot on that and then put a bet on Timu to be top scorer, after which point he's not scored any goals. So maybe I should just never speak of him again and like just shut my mouth. I mean, I did say that, didn't I? I did.
Oh, so you still want to be right?
Yeah. I'm pivoting background.
I was right in the first place.
Yeah, I did a 180 and now I've done another one. So I'm back facing the way I was.
Which is always the desired end result. Yes,
Imagine seeing Daniel Farker in Antigua. That would be weird, wouldn't it?
He's it's the sort of place I feel like he would rock up.
Yeah. I bet he's got some great trunks, hasn't he?
I was just going to say it's going to be budgie smugglers, isn't it? Yes. Quick. I can't get that image out of my head. Quick. Let's talk about something else that's football.
There were a lot of sightings of him in the sauna. No, in Wyndham, I think. It's not quite as exotic.
The sauna in Wyndham.
My friend would go to the gym in Wyndham and would often see Daniel Farker just kind of lording it up in the sauna around there. So I could imagine the Antigua vibes from him as well.
Define lording it up.
Is that the kind of sauna where they like smack each other with twigs?
I think we should move on. I was going to say Timu. I don't think Timu's going to reach 100 goals, which makes me sad. There we go. What else I've got here? Oh, Norwich City women are into the County Cup semis after beating Kings Lynn. They beat them 5-0 in the quarterfinals. They will now face Dussindale and Helsden in the semi-finals.
Is that one team?
Wow.
Seems a bit greedy, doesn't it?
I don't know. Norwich
Playing
City
them both at the same time.
I mean, Norwich City women competing in the Norfolk County Cup, let's be honest, they would probably beat them if they were two teams. They should do. But it's great. It's great. I think they're defending the competition. Are they? Did they win it last year? I thought they won it last year. And they play at the Nest again on Sunday against Cambridge United in the league. That's at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So if you've got a free time on Sunday, go along. Because there were 405 at the game at the weekend, which is brilliant. Love that.
Excellent.
So the more the merrier. And then maybe they'll get their game at Carrow Road. Maybe one day. I won't stop pushing for it. Do it. Right. Are we all done with that? I think we're all done with that. Any comments or questions, Steve, of an interesting nature?
No.
Well,
Neil Luther says that Stephen looks like he's just won the 3 o'clock at Kempton with a wink face smiley. So I think it's and you want it. You look like you want it, which is good.
I can't know what that actually means. I'm going to have that explained, I'm afraid.
I think it's a horse racing.
You want a horse race, Steve? You look like a jockey. It's a clear compliment.
Thanks.
Compared to some comments we get.
Ben Sukiyumi says we've gone from playing good football never to playing good football half the time. That's progress, isn't it? We should be patient. No. And maybe that is the positive to take out of this, is that, we're building towards something, right?
There's certainly more faith in David Wagner building something than there was before. So that's a very good starting point. And I like David Wagner. I'm enjoying talking to him, and I like how he started personally.
Did you hear him say after the whole game that he hadn't realised that we hadn't won at home since October? And do you believe that?
Yeah, definitely. He was genuinely shocked on his face.
I mean, he sounded shocked on the radio. But
he and it was quite surprising that he was shocked, because you'd be like, but then you sort of think, well, no, why would he have known that? Because I don't know. I guess maybe just not realised then. He just knew they hadn't won for a while. Maybe, I don't know.
Is it like God, I didn't realise you were that?
Yeah, no, maybe.
He said he was surprised that we weren't more excited when it was 1-1.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was such a great goal as well. It was such a great finish. That was the weirdest reaction to a goal I can remember for ages at Carrow Road. It was almost like everyone thought it had just gone wide, and then suddenly it was in. It was like, oh, yep, great.
Oh,
great.
good. Yeah.
There were proper celebrations at the end, though. I mean, I was watching the City view from that game earlier, and like the fact that the players actually stayed out kind of for as long as they did in front of the Barclay, and then kind of interacting with the cameras and stuff, it was definitely a lot more positive than I'd seen from like previous wins this season. So hopefully, that's a good sign as well.
Definitely is. Definitely completely different, which is very good. Nolly has said that this is the 96-97 home shirt, and Nolly says it's pronounced long. But which maybe
try and tell you that.
Well, I'm not an idiot. Like, I know it's not nice. It's niche. So I did get it. But I thought I'd heard from reliable sources that it was lens, but maybe not. I mean, I'm happy to say long, and that's because I was saying long all the time, and someone was like, "Well, it's not that."
Maybe it just used to belong to a man called Len.
Lens. Oh, it's lens. He's still running.
Were you sort of desperate not to do a Steve McLaren type, where you kind of over exaggerating the accent? So you've just gone right down the Little Englander route.
I've gone to the extreme. Yeah, why not? Are we done? Any more ones, Steve?
I think that's probably about.
Yeah.
Matthew Richards says Dussindale and Helsden is one club, a suburb merger. They didn't ask Sprowson. They didn't. That would have made it Dussindale and Helsden and Sprowson. I don't think you can have 3, can you?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously I did know it wasn't 2 teams, because that's not how football works. But
I think Matthew's just trying to help,
I know. We're all big one happy fun family here. Although I have always wondered what it'd be like if you had 3 teams and 3 goals, and what that pitch would. Anyway, but also, like, geographically, Dussindale and Helsden, for Norwich geography nerds. They're not exactly next door. So, you know, maybe that's why Sprowston would feel left out. This is golden content. Just there. Look at it on a map. Answers on a postcard. That will get here. Right. Well, I think we're all done. Thanks for comments. Keep them coming in if you're so inclined. This hasn't been as short as I think we were all hoping. So let's instead move on to our next section, which is where we look forward to things with the comfort of John Motson.
This is almost fantasy football.
Yes, I couldn't possibly tell you what screams fantasy football more than the visits of Birmingham and Cardiff to Carrow Road in the coming games. I've written here, anyone excited? Question mark.
Yeah.
Oh, now Hernandez is probably exciting to play Birmingham.
Oh, indeed, yes, that's very true. They liked him until he celebrated his goal, and then they didn't like him anymore.
When he celebrated
at St Andrews. Good point. Yep, so that's good. Birmingham, obviously, the rearranged FA Cup game because Birmingham reached the next round of the FA Cup, not Norwich, obviously. What are we hoping for? I feel lost. Everyone, help me. What are we hoping for here? Are we trying to finish in the top 6? What are we trying to do?
It's just a good time to remind ourselves that we are only 3 points away from the playoffs. And these are 2 very much winnable home games. In fact, Birmingham, we always seem to be at home. So,
always.
Always.
Never.
So we could definitely write this season off if we don't win this one. And you know,
Emu Pookie to score a hat trick.
It is an opportunity, isn't it, for Adam Eder, this, and I think given the right service, I would hope that he can kind of, you know, he can get the goal to kind of kickstart his season. And also, I do think we're coming off the back of a really terrible game on Saturday. But in terms of the Carrow Road form, I think it was probably our best game of the season on Tuesday at home. You know, so hopefully they can build on that, start fast, get some confidence. They came from behind in that game as well, which I think is another hurdle that they've managed to overcome. So, yeah, I definitely think that I feel like we'll win on Tuesday tomorrow. Saturday could be a little bit trickier because we always beat Birmingham. It will happen again. Saturday might be a bit trickier, but if we get 6 points from the next 2, which they should probably expect to, even with the injuries they've got, then they're right back in the mix again, ahead of 2 big games against Millwall and Sunderland.
You see, the 88-point train is flying. That's what I like to see. Cardiff were terrible against Reading, but they did win with a Romain Sawyer's goal from the edge of his box, which was something on the opening day of this season. Dean Smith could not get his head around because every time he mentioned it, he called it a pass because Romain Sawyer's never scores. It's like a really good goal. There we go. We'll see him at Carrow Road. So that's grand. And yes, what was I going to ask? Come back. Oh, John Ruddy. Big John Ruddy will be back with Birmingham. Stephen will be in goal. A couple of little mistakes coming from John in a couple of recent games, but he's a lovely guy. So it'll be nice. He can wave to the crowd and they'll all go, yeah, it's Big John. I'm
sure it'll be good for him to see some of his old colleagues, if any of them are still there from when he was at the club.
I was going to say this. Do you think we're in the territory where he goes, oh, it's nice to be back. I've seen a few faces. Not many, though. Not many left now. Do you think we're in that territory now where there aren't many people he'd recognise?
Michael McGovern? It's always Michael McGovern.
Mickey McGovern,
yeah. That's the only answer.
Yeah, and Delia.
And you, Michael.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, the 3 constants, McGovern, Delia, Smith, and Bailey.
Yeah, that'd be the most familiar faces he sees are in the mix zone as he walks through. There we go. It'll be lovely to see John. Anyway, that's good. So, yeah, 6 points, 88-point train onwards, and happy days. Is that right?
Do we think there's a question of who starts alongside Grant Hanley, given that Andy Omobamidele was hooked with no apparent injury at half-time on Saturday?
Yeah, David Wagner said he was tired, which I think was a euphemism for he wasn't playing very well.
He kept passing it to Wigan strikers.
And I feel like I owe Kenny McLean a little apology because when I looked up for one of the 3 chances Norwich decided to go, there you go. I thought that Kenny had sort of overrun it, and actually then I saw a replay and it was quite clearly just Andrew's pass was just a bit awry, wasn't it? And it wasn't really Kenny's fault necessarily, was it? Or do I need to watch it again?
Well, Kenny always gives away the telltale sign of throwing his arms up in the air. Oh, yeah, so usually he'll let you know if it's his fault.
If he's got his head in his hands, it was definitely his fault.
Okay, maybe I don't know him an apology at all then.
Was it the Josh Sargent Scorpion goal where Kenny had his head in his hands when it was being scored because he was still thinking about the pass he just made?
Which was a really bad overhit pass, but that's okay because
absolute classic Norwich City. That is
classic Kenny. Yeah. So who should? Well, Ben Gibson's back. He's now a dad. Congratulations, Ben. That's exciting and lovely. Obviously, we're not allowed to consider that when it comes to football. We can't possibly treat these people as humans.
How did he play, Michael, when he came on?
I think he did all right. Yeah, I thought he did all right. There was one point where he had to sort of recover a situation, and he did it. I think my concentration was waning by that point, if I'm honest. I might have to say that.
The whole second half.
I mean, there was one point in the first half where, all they had to do was play the ball over to Dimi Yanulis, and he had literally half the pitch to himself, and they couldn't do it. They literally picked the worst pass, and it's like, what are you guys doing?
My theory is that entire first half was just a way of getting Angus Gunn back into form by just giving the ball to Wigan's attackers and going, right, get yourself a decent save. And to be fair, he kept doing it, didn't he? So and
most errors leading to shots in Europe, Norwich, or they were a couple of weeks ago.
Well, it's nice to be
don't envisage they're in a better position now, to be honest. I mean, literally, when I wrote that story, Watford had given away 2 shots from their own errors all season. Norwich did it 3 times in the first half on Saturday against Wigan. Literally, what are you doing? Anyway, let's be positive. There's lots to build on. It's all fine. I've written here attendances ? I mean, there will be an attendance. We're not going to do that thing again where we look around for the attendance that's on the club website.
And it's Pancake Day tomorrow as well, so another reason to stay away.
Lots of people, they just making pancakes at home rather than going to football. We shall see. I think I am there on Tuesday. There is a sort of slight question mark over other work commitments, but I should be there. Might be slightly strange. Yeah, I might.
What? Is this your job?
Aren't you the Athletics Norwich City correspondent?
Yeah. Covering Burnley or something.
It's a new job.
Okay, my other job.
He's just going to announce it live on the in the last 10 minutes.
I might not get to do a video verdict to the end, but I will be it'll all be fine.
What's the point of this match even happening?
I was wondering that, to be honest, but
I see. As soon as the season starts petering out, you're off.
I'm just lost. I can't concentrate on the games. I'm annoyed about the passes. And I will be there on Saturday, but it is my birthday on Saturday, so I'm expecting a cake. But that'll be nice. So that's exciting on Saturday.
Well, we still want hot takes.
It's exciting for me, no one else. I'll be really excited.
We still want those hot takes, Michael. If
will there
you
be
don't
hot
provide
takes
them,
tomorrow?
What?
Will there be hot takes tomorrow?
I don't know. Actually, it's just. I know. Maybe I shouldn't be even saying this. Maybe I'll just cut this all out. But I just didn't want to
hot
not
takes
do
and pancakes.
Why have you not done it? Birthday takes.
Hot takes, pancakes, and birthday cakes. There's your headline for next week.
I think that works. Everything in threes, as people who listen to football cliches will know all about. Is that anything? Is there anything else left to say? Anything? Well, I did say at the start. Is there anything? What are the big hopes? The big hopes for these 2 home games. Double header at Carrow Road. I can't even get my words out. I'm so excited. Double header at Carrow Road. Football. Norwich City. What do we want to see? One thing we want to see. Give me one thing that we're wishing for from these 2 home games.
Points.
Yeah, 6 points would be nice.
6 points. Michael Bailey.
Choo-choo. Yeah. Michael Bailey to do his job would be good.
Yeah.
All these holidays earlier in the season and now just vanishing.
I had all summer. Why didn't I just take that then? Why was I waiting until the start of the football season? Probably deliberately sabotaging my own job.
absolutely reeling from this revelation.
Neil Luther has suggested that maybe you're going to become a reporter for
Racing Club Lens.
Racing
Hello,
Club.
I'm your lens correspondent. Through the lens. Through the long, everyone, through the long.
It was when you worked out how to pronounce it, they went, yeah, that's our guy. That was the last thing. That was the final step. Now we've got him. Although Mark Hilton suggests that maybe you're doing Canary Call instead. Perhaps that's why you're not doing it.
I'd love to do it one day. I'd love to do that one day.
Are you off to Antigua with Daniel Farker? Is that what you're doing?
I'm hacking my budgie smugglers as we speak. I'm not, obviously, because I'm doing this. Right.
And sorry, Paul Fraker's asked, are you going to toss a pancake in front of the bar? Which, of all of the things, I hope it's that. That would be great.
Well, no one will be there because they'll all be busy cooking their own pancakes.
But
Be
a flat atmosphere then.
Hey.
Right, it's been a pleasure.
That is too good for this podcast, Stephen. You are wasted. Well, yeah. So we're all looking forward to 6 points. The 88-point train continuing. À droite. Is that straight on?
Is
that right?
Turn it.
Right.
À la gauche is left.
Yeah. I'm starting to think
What
this
is straight on in French?
I don't know. I mean, you're going to need to know it, aren't you? So
yes, when I rock up at Lens.
That's right.
See, this is much more. I've had much more fun doing this than watching the game on Saturday.
Did you listen to the Verve all the way up to Wigan?
Oh, okay. Well, now it's time for Kenny Other Business.
Okay.
Great work. Great work, Steve. Yes. No is the honest answer.
Shame.
What I did. All right. What I did. So obviously, I missed the Bristol City trip because I was ill. So what I did was I took a short period out of the journey to listen to Tricky, and another little period to listen to Portishead. Although I did then have a debate in my head: is it Portishead or Portishead?
Portishead.
Portishead. That's what it was.
It's long.
Loms. Who knows? Tomato. So I listened to them both, and I was like, "Oh, this is what it would have been like if I was off to Bristol." And then I listened to Urban Hymns, which was nice. I hadn't had that album in ages. So yes, I did listen to the Verve on the way up, but only Urban Hymns. And then on the full-time whistle to celebrate the goalless draw, Wigan put the only other Verve song I know, which wasn't on that album, where he goes, "Love is pain, love is pain, love is pain, again." That one.
Is it called?
And I was like, "Oh, that's the Verve song I didn't listen to on the way up." There we go.
I actually went to Portishead when I went to the Bristol City game. And I found a lake, and there was a toilet that only took 20p coins. So I was in a spot of bother.
What did you do?
What happened next?
Yeah, you're gonna have to end the story, Stephen. What happened?
I just found an appropriate place to, take care of business, make sure no one was looking.
Taking care of business. Maybe that should be
free. It should be. Who has 20p coins anymore?
Great point.
Exactly. It does seem a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I've always objected to having to pay to go to the toilet. It's just a human function, isn't it?
Yeah. You tell them, Steve.
Scandalous. Absolutely.
Won't open the door, but you say it. Anyway, the point was, I did get an email from Mark Noloth, who I guess could be Nolly. Was it Nolly who was correcting me on Lens?
Nolly can let us know.
Maybe that is Mark. Who knows? Maybe they're two. Maybe we've got two listeners. But either way, he says, having been mentioned about Michael's music on away trips, I've made a playlist of hometown performers for the rest of Norwich City's away games.
Wow.
What a superstar you are, Mark. So obviously I paid very good attention to this. And he's called it MB's Neue Kopflora Tour. Kopflora Tour. Neue? If only it was in French. If only it was in MB's Neue Kopflora Tour. Kopflora Tour. I didn't do German. That's cool. That's obviously the legitimate season. Anyway, Wigan, the Verve and Lamal. I didn't listen to Lamal. Millwall, Tommy Steele. Huddersfield, Saxon, who's lead singer. of a band, I presume. Stoke, Hawkwind / Motorhead, because Lemmy. Oh, I see. This is it. So Saxon's lead singer is from Huddersfield. Lemmy is from Stoke, so that's Hawkwind and Motorhead, or Robbie Williams. Blackburn, the Stiffs. Middlesbrough, James Arthur, James Arthur or Chris Rea. Sam Fender's Sunderland, isn't he?
Newcastle.
Yeah,
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Oh, sorry, Sam. Lens long. QPR, the Sex Pistols, the Clash, or the Who. That's going to be a great away trip.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going. Oh no, maybe now's not the time to say this. I am actually off over the Easter holidays, so I'm not going to Blackburn or Middlesbrough. What a half-baked man I am.
Or Birmingham or Cardiff.
Shock that Michael's off.
No, I am there. I am both of those.
Another holiday.
West Brom, Led Zeppelin for Robert Plant, or Phil Lynott. Oh God. Or Dean Smith press conferences. Is that rude? Is that mean? He says, sorry, and then Mark finishes, varied styles to listen to. The tour name is German for new headphones. Oh, regards, Nolly. It is Nolly. Hello, Nolly.
He or she. Oh no, there's definitely he has confirmed.
Don't assume. In fairness, don't assume. Nolly, thank you.
Mark though.
All right.
We also Clive Jolly on Twitter said that he would highly recommend Embrace for Huddersfield. They are from 15 minutes down the road, starting with the classic debut album, The Goodwill Out. Plus, he's seen them live 40 plus times and some huge non-single released tracks.
He might have seen friend of the podcast Dan Brigham at some of those gigs. Then I think he's seen them several times as well, hasn't he? I think by all accounts,
I think Dan was
a lot in the WhatsApp group. I think it was 38.
It was somewhere between 20 and 30. I think Dan was. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I like a bit of Embrace. Well, I dare not say that in the WhatsApp group.
Ashes is quite a good song.
Ashes. Gravity, written by Coldplay. Anyway, well, I think we've suitably avoided all football talk. Enough.
Talking of music, can I ask a quick question before we finish?
Yeah.
Gabrielle Sarah's song. I sort of both like it, but I was going to ask if it fills anybody else with a weird sense of like doom. Like, my whole body fills with this sort of sense of dread when it's sort of it's so mournful, that sort of build up to it, and I sort of can't get it out of my head, but also it makes me feel a bit weird.
I had a lovely chat with Gabriel Sarah after the Hull game, which was really nice because honestly, that guy's English. From the fact that he didn't speak a word of English to the last
really good
conference we had with him, and he did everything through the interpreter, which may have been a confidence thing, obviously, which is fair enough. It was brilliant. It was so good, and that I think says so much about him. So I was proud of him. I have not that connection to him, but I was just generally stood in front of him going, I'm very proud of you as a human, one human to another. That was a nice Valentine's treat. So that was good. And I asked him about his song, and he was like, no, he didn't have his own song in Sao Paulo. And so he's like, it's great. And he'd heard it and he loved it. I can't remember how it goes or the word.
I know it's voulez-vous, isn't it? Which had anyone ever had a chance of voulez-vous?
Was it Gabrielle Sarah? What did it say?
It's
I'll sing it.
number 17, best we've ever seen, and we bought him from Brazil.
We bought him from Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Gabrielle Sarah. Okay.
It's the Brielle bit that makes me feel a bit funny inside. The rest of it's fine. I just wanted to get it out because it makes me feel weird.
It's the safe space.
I also have a question on related to chants, which is the one. Since I was young, I follow the NCFC, the team for me, which got a lot of action at Bristol City away. And I joined in a couple of times before remembering that I've only followed the NCFC since I was 22, and now 25 for my sins. So do I get to sing it or not?
Absolutely not. This word should never be leaving your mouth, Stephen. What are you doing?
You should stand there in silence, and if anyone asks, just tell them that. It will be fine. Yes, that is a chant that goes on and on. But if you were stood at Wigan, you'd be wanting to sing that for a long time.
Is there a danger of it replacing On the Ball City because it's so easy to sing? That's what I'm worried about.
Well, On the Ball City is, in my view, disgracefully getting merged into the kickoff, which it should be.
Yes, the referees do not show us enough respect in this division, do they?
No, it's and it used to be like, now they've got to fit too much in at the start of the game. I think we need to ditch the what's the white stripes thing, green yellow army thing. That can go. Get On the Ball City, back out front and center, and yeah, we'll again.
Agreed.
And I think my connection's just gone down.
Yeah, I think that is your Wi-Fi connection saying end this now. Starting, you've come full 360 there, Steve. It's how we started this pod, and I think we should probably end it. We've done very well to go on more than an hour, which is not something I normally say, but we have indeed. I think we're done. There's no more. Are there any more comments requiring attention?
Even if there are, I don't know whether I'm going to have the capacity with my current situation to pull them up, Michael. So
I would like to share a story with your listeners before we depart, which is I actually sort of met Steve once before a few years ago.
Oh, well, there we go. What did he do?
This is excellent.
Was it in a sauna?
No, it wasn't. No. It was the Black Horse pub, which I believe is NR3.
What a pub, by the way. Shout out to the Black Horse
NR2,
pub.
but
NR2, apologies.
I'm not getting into the postcode wars here, but yeah.
It was shortly after the first COVID lockdown, I think, and I was there with Dan, who's the head of media at Norwich, and Callum and Rowan, who used to work there. And I needed to go to the loo, so I went inside.
Recurring theme.
The men's
is carrying Stephen.
I have a toilet problem. The men's toilet was closed, so I thought, desperate times, call for desperate measures.
Again,
I went into the,
I'm really worried now. I don't even remember this.
20p. Give me your 20p.
So I went into the women's toilet and saw none other than NCFC Numbers himself. He was also there.
Wow.
And then I went outside and explained what happened, and Dan said, "Well, how do you know what NCFC Numbers looks like, and why were you both in the women's toilet?" But
am I being pranked here? I can't work out what's happening.
Wow. When you should say that, I've got the CCTV footage here.
Yeah, I think my Wi-Fi's break it up again. Well, thank you for sharing. I am completely nonplussed by that, because can I just state on the record, I don't normally hang around in ladies' toilets.
Well, I think Michael's the only person on here who's not used a women's toilet, unless you've got something to share, Michael.
Well, I don't know. Not consciously. Who knows? Neil Luther says, "Has Michael actually got a job, or has he been fired?"
My thoughts exactly.
In fairness, that would be what would I'd be like, no one must find out. If I keep doing the hot takes well enough, maybe I can make a living off that.
You could still do the podcast even if you didn't have a job at the Athletic. So that's fine.
Just keep doing this.
Although I think I might have just been cancelled for hanging out in ladies' toilets, so I won't be joining you next week, I'm afraid.
No, it needed to
happen. How exciting! One more from Ben Tsukiyumi, because this is good. In a match, if you could have a bonus when you could bring on an animal as a 12th player for 5 minutes, which animal would you choose and why?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a great question, isn't it? Because do you go for the animal that's just going to eat the opposition, or one that could do something with the football? I don't know which animal that would be.
Or both. You need an animal that's going to do crocodile.
An elephant.
Oh, it's not going to be very mobile, is it?
No.
Chimpanzee. I mean, monkey could probably run off with the ball and also attack, people.
Kangaroo.
Oh yeah. I bet if you played a kangaroo at the back, it wouldn't give the ball away as much as Arsenal did in the first half on Saturday.
It could absolutely smack the ball in with its tail as well. And a lot of kangaroos are absolutely stacked as well, aren't they?
That's a fair point. It's all that
I think
training.
It's got to be a canary. I mean, you see the longevity, the amount of years that canary has had the control of the ball. it's just incredible.
That's true. Yeah, trapped it beautifully.
Wouldn't really swim.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, on that note, that's a great question, Ben. Thank you so much. I think we're done, aren't we? Should we move on to whatever it is that we're doing next?
And end this before someone else comes up with another anecdote that involves me.
Or toilets.
That's all I have.
Well, in that case, may I say that is it for another On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that we're not dream of missing the rest of the season for the world. I've written that before. I've literally said I'm missing about 3 games.
There's only about 3 games left.
I'm a parody of myself. If you're yet to do so, make sure you subscribe via your podcast player of choice to the podcast, which is available free for everyone on your usual player. And we stream the recording of the podcast live in video form on my social media channels each Monday evening. Have a search. I'm sure you'll find it. Ratings and reviews wherever prompted are always hugely appreciated. And if you want to get in touch with any questions or topic proposals, sling me a direct message on Twitter. The handle is at Michael J. Bailey. As for this evening, a big thank you to our guests tonight. They are Stephen Wright. Thank you for coming on. It was a wonderful debut, Stephen. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you'll come on again.
Yep, it's been a pleasure. And if Steve will allow me to come on again, then I'd be more than happy to.
As long as we don't have to meet in person, that's fine.
Well, no, that would have to be in the women's toilets, obviously.
Yes.
Zoe, thank you as always for joining us and being so wonderful.
Thanks for having me again, Michael.
It's always a pleasure. Steve, top work. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. I look forward to informing you what happened in those 2 games this week when we do this.
I am gonna be at them both.
Sure.
Yeah.
See you there.
I better take a selfie of them. I haven't taken a selfie for the pod, have I? Let me do that now while we're saying goodbye. I mean, this is just completely ramshackle. Everyone smile on there. There's me in my Lens shirt. Oh, there's my uncle's picture, better not be in the background. Basically, it's a picture of a certain religion with the faces of Daniel Farker, Delia Smith, Wes Whelan, and Emi Buendia transposed on. So some people might not like to see that, but my uncle's a great artist. It's fine. Oh God, right. Yes. So thank you, everyone. This might be the last podcast we ever do. We'll be back next Monday, possibly, for another installment of On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that toes a pretty fine line. Until then, and quite aptly, never mind the danger. And there we are. We are done. Thank you all for watching live on the old interweb. I hope you enjoyed it.
So close to an hour. So close.
I don't know.
Just 13 minutes over.
Was that the best or the worst podcast we ever did? I don't know.
It was up there with the weirdest. I think when you started talking about religion as you were ending, which religions you defended.
Yeah, let's just not say which religion and leave that open interpretation so that all the religions are now offended. Right, let's go before anything bad happens. Everyone wave. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Always fun. Bye. See you next week and at the football during the week. I'll definitely see you there. I'll really see you there. Definitely see you there at the football. See you there. Bye, everyone. Bye.